Tonight, patriotic preparations.
It's kind of reawakened that sense of being Canadian and wanting to show it proudly.
How Winnipeggers are preparing to celebrate Canada Day amid frosty relations with our southern neighbor. Also tonight, rubber meets the road.
It was actually a really good day yesterday, and so far today, things have been working well.
How are transit officials and the public feeling after a massive overhaul of the transit system? Plus, from field to frame.
No one was doing it here in Manitoba, so I decided I would try.
Why one couple is building homes from hemp, and could the practice go mainstream?
CTV News. Live from downtown Winnipeg with Marilee Caruso.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Catherine Dow. Marilee is away. Manitobans are gearing up to celebrate Canada Day, and it seems the trade war with the U.S. and President Trump's 51st state rhetoric has only bolstered Canadian pride. CTV's Danton Unger joins us now live. So, Danton, how has the rocky relationship with the states impacted Manitobans' Canada Day plans?
Well, Catherine, there's some new polling data that suggests Manitobans are feeling more patriotic this year and are planning to put more of an effort into celebrating Canada Day. Now, I spoke with several folks who are feeling that Canadian pride, specifically one Winnipegger who has found a unique way to show it.
It's Ho Ho O Canada for Santa Claus on Nairn.
We got a bunch of streamers, Canada flag, new shirt, and I really like the umbrella hat.
For the past 5 years, Richard Holm and Nicole Abbott have been dressing Santa up to celebrate all sorts of holidays. And this year, they've taken special effort to make Santa Claus extra patriotic.
We need to celebrate Canada Day more than ever right now. We need to show our patriotism, and we've got Santa here all decked out.
And Santa Claus isn't alone. According to a probe research poll commissioned by the Winnipeg Free Press, 60% of Manitobans feel more proud to be Canadian than they did last year.
With Trump and this talk of the 51st state and, everything going on with that and kind of this worry, this big worry that, maybe Canada as we know it is not going to be the country that it's been. There is a lot more patriotism sort of being expressed.
The poll also found 57% say they plan to make more of an effort to celebrate Canada Day. That's no surprise to the folks at the flag shop in South Osborne.
It's kind of reawakened that sense of being Canadian and wanting to show it proudly.
Matthew Hobson says foot traffic has more than doubled here.
We're seeing a big rise in people wanting to fly a Canadian flag in front of their home for Canada Day.
People like Jeff Gosman, who stopped by the shop Monday to pick up a new Canadian flag.
We've got a lot to be proud of, and we're sort of under attack by the United States, who used to be our best friend and it now seems to be a bit of an enemy. I just hope that it's resolved.
Meanwhile, on Nairn, Home hopes Santa's Canada Day get-up will bring a smile to those driving by. After all, red and white have always been Santa's colors.
A lot of positive comments.
Everyone loves Santa.
And there's no negative comments.
Now, Catherine, probe research also asked Manitobans if they're concerned Canada as we know it won't exist in 5 years. And the responses were split just about right down the middle, with 49% saying they are concerned and 52% saying they aren't worried.
All right, thanks for this, Danton. If you took the bus to work today, you probably noticed things are a bit different. Winnipeg Transit has officially launched its new primary transit network. It marks the biggest overhaul to the city's bus system in its 142-year history. Joining me now live is CTV's John Hendricks. So, John, the revamp started Sunday morning. How are things going?
Well, Catherine, Winnipeg Transit says things are going smoothly with very few bumps in the road. Service development tells CTV News they have just 2 reports of bus drivers making wrong turns. And when considering the magnitude of the changes, every route is different. So they feel that's pretty good. The new design is based on the spine and feeder system to improve frequency, connectivity, and service efficiency. Now that things are in high gear, Transit is looking for feedback from riders so that it can tweak the system and make improvements in the future.
So what we're doing right now is we want to get feedback from the public, and we want to hear everything that they like and they don't like about it. Because now we have an annual service plan process that we'll be starting, and every year we'll be going through, taking in all the feedback from the public, from councillors, and then the analysis we do ourselves, and coming up with the proposed improvements for every single year.
So, John, we heard from Winnipeg Transit. What are riders saying?
Well, Catherine, we spoke with a number of riders today. Here's what a few had to say.
I'm lost. I'm confused. I don't know where to catch my bus. I've always caught it over there on, is that Graham? Yeah. And then I'm looking on the app here, and it doesn't even tell me where the 16's rerouted to. So I don't know. I don't know where to go.
They've got additional routes, so now I'm not exactly sure where everything's going. I'm hoping that it's sort of going to balance out, though, as things go. It's going to take a couple weeks, though, to get used to it, that's for sure.
I was flabbergasted at the first bus because it usually takes me down Graham, and I'm here looking for the bus that takes me to City Hall. I just want to get there.
It went pretty good, actually. It was a little confusing, but I would suggest people get out ahead of it and kind of plan your route.
The city will now pay close attention to ridership numbers to evaluate the project's progress. Now, to plan your route under the new network, you can use the Winnipeg Transit's Navigo trip planning system. You can get more information at winnipegtransit.com.
All right, thanks for this, John. And if you traveled through downtown today, you may have noticed that Graham Avenue is starting to look a little different. Crews began cleaning and painting the street this morning, as well as adding large planters and rocks. 4 blocks are now blocked off to vehicle traffic as the city begins a project meant to reimagine the downtown thoroughfare as a vibrant pedestrian hub. Once complete, you can expect to see new landscaping, lighting, picnic tables, ping pong tables, benches, and art installations. The Winnipeg Police Service is expecting to be about $4.2 million over budget this year. That's according to its first quarter financial report, which shows both revenue and expenses are slightly higher than expected. The force attributes the bulk of the redding to a $5 million savings target, which it expects to partially achieve. Inflation also drove up costs, particularly for vehicle insurance and equipment. The Jets' whiteout street parties also helped push overtime expenses over budget by $1 million. The Finance Committee will review the report next week. This Canada Day, a Winnipeg family is becoming Canadian citizens, and it's a moment that couldn't be more special for them. 6 years ago, they were stuck in immigration limbo, trying to navigate the complicated system. CTV's Harrison Shin shows you why their journey to citizenship was hanging by a thread.
But he was born Canadian.
Yeah, he's born Canadian.
Living in this house are 3 people and a cat named Bonnie. Today, Bonnie is the one and only citizen here. That is until tomorrow when Luis Bonito and his family are sworn in as Canadians.
Very, very happy. Very, very happy. You know, all my dreams come true.
But 6 years ago, Luis Bonito and his family were facing a very real nightmare. They were about to be deported.
I cannot do it because I must leave. I'm not legal here.
Bonito was born in Brazil and also had Portuguese citizenship, but never spent any time in either of these countries. He was raised in Venezuela, but had to flee the country for his safety. He filed a refugee claim, but it was denied because the Canadian government told him he could safely go to Portugal.
I know when I get to Portugal, I will be in trouble.
But that doomsday scenario isn't going to happen. 6 months after talking to CTV, Bonito and his family got permanent residency.
They gave him a temporary permit, and then about 6 months after, they give my permanent residence, me and my family. And everything goes fine.
This journey wasn't easy for Bonito's daughter, Ana, either.
I always felt very stressed and overwhelmed by it. I was very scared of what was going to happen next.
Newly graduated from high school, Ana is thankful that everything pulled through.
I'm just glad now it all worked out.
So is Bonito, and he can't thank his fellow Winnipeggers enough.
They say Winnipeg is the most cold city on the world. They are wrong. It's the most hot and warm because of their people.
Harrison Shin, CTV News, Winnipeg.
Well, that got me. That was nice.
That's right.
Colleen, before we get to Canada Day, I understand you're tracking a little bit of instability tonight.
Yeah, thunderstorms in both halves of the province today into tonight. We can see we still have this line of thunderstorms that we've been following over the past hour, Catherine, right along the shoreline there on the south basin of Lake Winnipeg on the west side there. But you can see moving further into the southeast corner of the province, and you see where that little symbol pops up. That tells you that there's hail not too far from Beausejour, but it's the other direction. Up in northern Manitoba tonight, all these areas lighting up in yellow under a severe thunderstorm watch. That means conditions are favorable for thunderstorms to develop that could become severe. We've already had thunderstorms off and on in Thompson as recently as last hour. Norway House had a thunderstorm earlier today, but other places like wildfire affected areas where we don't need lightning strikes also under that watch. Flin Flon and Lynn Lake, although we haven't seen any thunderstorms develop there yet, but that could still happen yet tonight. We'll take a look at that a little further as we go, and then of course a look at your Canada Day forecast. It will be hot. If it's a little hot for you, don't worry, it'll be windy too. Let's take a look right now through the Bath Fitter Live Eye. Bath Fitter, your bath and shower experts for more than 40 years. That camera blowing around in those winds there, Catherine. Winds out of the northwest at 32 kilometers an hour. It is a warm 27 degrees with the humidex. It feels like 30. The pressure's dropping and the humidity right now is 42%.
Thanks, Colleen. Manitoba's police watchdog has been called in to investigate two separate instances, where someone died in police custody on Friday. The first happened in the morning here in Winnipeg. Police say they responded to a report of a man being assaulted by a group of people on Maryland Avenue. They found a man in his 20s who was medically cleared by paramedics and did not want police involved in the assault investigation. However, police say he was detained and brought to Main Street Project because of how intoxicated he was. A few hours later, he experienced a medical event and died. The second happened mid-afternoon in Chemawawin, Cree Nation. That's located in the North Interlake, west of Grand Rapids. RCMPs say they were called to investigate a report of a man behaving erratically. When they arrived, they found a man lying in the street in medical distress. He was brought to the local nursing station but died. The independent investigation unit is now investigating both events. Anyone with information is asked to give them a call. An 11-year-old boy is dead following an off-road vehicle rollover in northern Manitoba. It happened last week on Marcel Cologne First Nation just east of Lynn Lake. According to RCMP, a 13-year-old boy was driving an ATV along with an 11-year-old passenger. Police say the driver lost control of the ATV and it rolled. The 13-year-old boy was taken to hospital with minor injuries. The 11-year-old boy was pronounced dead at the scene. Police say the boys were not wearing helmets and speed was a factor. A husband and wife duo are using a unique material to build homes, hemp, and it's harvested right here in Manitoba. CTV's Joseph Bernacki caught up with the couple on a job site in Beausejour.
Francesco and Amalia Zerzolo are reinventing the wheel when it comes to home building, saving energy and the earth at the same time.
No one was doing it here in Manitoba, so I decided I would try and start something new.
In 2018, the couple started Elm Natural Builders and began building homes from hemprete. It uses the leftovers from hemp cultivation called Hemprete. It's then mixed with water and lime. Francesco says once the material is cast into the walls, it offers insulation and also sequesters carbon.
All these things make it a super attractive option for people looking to do something a little more environmentally friendly, but have all of the performance of a modern material.
This Beausejour home is coming together one block at a time and offers shapes not seen in traditional building.
We mixed up our hempcrete, which you can see here, hemp and lime, and we massaged it into place by hand.
Amalia Zerzolo says the material provides an aesthetic similar to the adobe style of homes in Mexico, and customers have been drawn to its look.
People really latch on to those curves or arches, and we've had more than one person tell us they're reminded of a hobbit house with the different curves, and we take that as a compliment.
The couple sources their hempcrete from Gilbert Plains, Manitoba, and says the material offers advanced heating and cooling.
It's eco-friendly and it's also breathable, and it allows for the air to move in and out.
Francesco's background in civil engineering led him to an interest in this type of build. They started with pizza ovens and moved to homes after. Hempcrete was added to the American Building Code in 2024. Permitting used to be a lengthy process, but now they are hopeful more builders will consider this approach in Canada.
It's really a gift, again, to be meeting people who are interested and who want to try something new.
Joseph Bernacki, CTV News, Beausejour.
Winnipeg Animal Services is bursting at the seams with dogs. In fact, there are so many dogs in their care, officials are reaching out to the public for help. In an attempt to find some new best friends for the dogs, the city is lowering the price it takes to adopt one. Until Friday, July 4th, the fee to adopt a dog has been dropped from $330 to $175. This fee includes the cost of spaying or neutering, a tattoo, microchip, and first license. Still ahead, on, off, and on again.
We can't afford to play with that. We need to make sure we secure that.
What exactly is the digital services tax that Canada promised to drop in order to restore trade talks with the U.S.? And where do the negotiations go from here? Taking a look at the markets now, crude oil lost 41 cents. The Canadian dollar gained 0.2 cents. Gold is up $20. The TSX added 164 points. The Dow Jones climbed 275 points, and the Nasdaq ended the day 96 points higher. Canadian athletic brand Lululemon has filed a lawsuit in California against Costco, accusing the wholesaler of selling knockoffs of some of its most popular products. The lawsuit alleges that Costco is selling dupes under its Kirkland label that copy Lululemon's scuba hoodies and other products. The Canadian company is requesting monetary damages and has initiated a court order to force the removal of the alleged knockoffs. Costco has not yet filed a response. Developing news this afternoon in the trade dispute between Canada and the U.S. Abruptly terminated on Friday by President Donald Trump's talks are now back on, confirmed by both sides today after Ottawa decided to drop the controversial digital services tax. CTV's senior political correspondent Mike LeCouture explains how it all went down.
Prime Minister Mark Carney says discussions between Canada and the U.S. restarted this morning after a call with President Donald Trump last night. But the way the Americans are framing it is very different.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved.
A blunt assessment of how it all played out from the White House. The two leaders spoke late last night, and then Canada announced it was rescinding the digital services tax. Carney said removing it was part of a bigger negotiation.
It doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back. So it provides some certainty.
The DST was intended to collect tax from big tech companies that make money off Canadian users but don't pay Canadian taxes. Carney says the two sides will now work towards negotiating a full trade deal by July 21st.
The White House said you caved. Is that how it went down?
The Prime Minister wouldn't answer that, but the Canadian Chamber of Commerce applauds the move, pointing to the bigger picture negotiation.
$3.6 billion worth of trade crosses our border every single day with the United States. We can't afford to play with that. We need to make sure we secure that.
Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre believes Carney should have got something in return. Writing on X, in exchange, the Prime Minister should insist that the U.S. immediately rescind softwood lumber tariffs, adding, we need to make gains for our workers in these talks.
They forced the U.S.'s hand.
Michael Geist specializes in internet and e-commerce law. He says Canada needs smarter tech regulation than to just make web giants pay up.
We've too often looked at these companies as akin to almost like a policy ATM, where we're anxious to do withdrawals to help fund some of our policy objectives, but we haven't really factored in the costs associated with this and some of the potential negative consequences that might come about.
Now, rescinding the DST would require an act of Parliament, but the Prime Minister's office says instead of recalling the House, the government will simply stop collecting the tax until they can remove it altogether. Mike LeCouture, CTV News, Ottawa.
Canada plans to take a fresh look at addressing harmful behavior online as the Liberals attempt to get legislation passed for a third time. Canada's Justice Minister says the government hasn't decided whether to rewrite or simply reintroduce the Online Harms Act. It was originally brought forward last year but didn't pass. Measures addressing deepfakes and child exploitation are expected to be included in legislation coming soon. Those were two Liberal election promises. Pierre Poilievre can officially start the countdown to his next political race. The Conservative Party leader and former MP now knows the date of the upcoming Alberta by-election, where he'll seek to make a return to the House of Commons. CTV's Colton Prale has the details.
It's been exactly 9 weeks since election night when Pierre Poilievre stood in this building and told his supporters he would never give up fighting for them. But 24 hours later, it was clear if he wanted to continue that fight, he'd need a new seat in the House of Commons. Now we know when he might get it. In the wake of his election win, Mark Carney promised no political games around by-elections that could return Pierre Poilievre to the House of Commons, and sooner than required under election law. Today, the Prime Minister announced the vote in the Alberta riding of Battle River-Crowfoot will take place Monday, August 18th, before parliamentarians return to the House of Commons in September. The riding in southern Alberta on the border of Saskatchewan is a Conservative stronghold.
Well, he has to run somewhere, and of course this riding is probably the most secure riding.
The area we're in is very Conservative, so it's probably better that it stays that way.
Damien Currick held the riding since 2019 before resigning his position earlier this month to give Poilievre a chance to win, and the chance is strong. Currick won the riding with nearly 83% of the vote and more than 46,000 ballots ahead of the second-place Liberal candidate. The Liberals have said Darcy Spady will run against Pierre Poilievre, and he'll be far from alone. The group behind a protest that led to 91 candidates running in his Carleton riding last time around say they're planning for an even bigger slate of candidates in the upcoming Alberta by-election. Colton Prale, CTV News, Ottawa.
A manhunt has ended in Idaho. A suspect who's believed to have killed 2 firefighters has been found dead. Police say he set a fire to lure them in, then opened fire. Alex Stone reports.
Amid a smoky haze from the wildfire that's still burning, which the sheriff says was set as a ruse to ambush firefighters, investigators are now streaming in. Law enforcement sources tell ABC News a shooter was 20-year-old Wes Rowley. He was found dead hours after the fire was started. It all began Sunday afternoon with the call of a routine wildfire on a mountain outside of Coeur d'Alene. When firefighters arrived, they started taking sniper fire.
They're shot. Everybody's shot up here. Law enforcement, code 3 now up here.
2 firefighters were killed. Another was badly injured. The shooter hid in the woods.
We first really started hearing the sirens as far as kind of going up and down there, kind of going around town. And immediately just kind of the tension really just kind of went up all around town.
For hours, it was unclear if the shooter was alive. The sheriff gave the green light for anybody with a clear shot to take him out. Snipers were perched in helicopters above, but then by Sunday night, they detected a cell phone signal that had not been moving. When they honed in on that area, they saw the shooter dead.
I'm a 4th-generation Idahoan, and the shock wave is really something else. People who have been here just a short amount of time, and people who grew up here, it's just, they're shocked.
Overnight, fellow firefighters saluted on overpasses as the bodies of the fallen were driven away from a hospital. Today, with the scene secure, firefighters are streaming in here as investigators are searching these woods for any other weapons left behind by the shooter. Alex Stone, ABC News, Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Deliberations are underway in the sex trafficking trial for rapper Sean Diddy Combs. Combs is charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, conspiracy, and transportation to engage in prostitution. The jury members include 8 men and 4 women. They are weighing the charges, which could put Combs in prison for life if he's found guilty. Israeli airstrikes killed dozens of people across Gaza today. That's according to Palestinian health officials. At least 30 people were killed in an attack on a seaside cafe in Gaza City. Dozens more were injured. The cafe was one of the few businesses to continue operating during the war. Elsewhere, Israeli forces reportedly killed 22 people when they fired on crowds returning from a food aid site and at a UN warehouse. Winnipeggers gathered in North Kildonan on Saturday to fight against brain tumors. The 2025 Brain Tumor Walk was hosted by the Brain Tumor Foundation of Canada at Kildonan Park's Teddy Bass Athletic Field. The foundation hosts the walk all over Canada. Their mission is to support Canadians affected by a brain tumor in any way possible.
Our mission is to provide support to every Canadian affected by a brain tumor, whether that's through resources, education. We have research funding, advocacy. Our goal is to make sure that nobody goes through a brain tumor journey alone.
The walk raised over $70,000 so far. The foundation is funded entirely through donations and fundraisers like this walk. Participants had their own stories and reasons to attend, but they were all united in one cause.
Getting texts from everybody we know, it's been unbelievable.
Another NHL draft is in the books, and it means some local talent is heading up to the big leagues. We'll have more when we return.
And tomorrow is Tuesday. It's also Canada Day, so getting into Wednesday. First day of the long-range forecast, July 2nd. We take a look right through the first few days of July into the first weekend of July and the first weekend of the second half of 2025. Sunshine Wednesday, 28 degrees, 32, piping hot. How about that? Well, maybe popping hot too. Mix of sun and cloud, 32 degrees, 30 on Friday. Thunderstorms possible. Rain showers are possible on Saturday. Otherwise, a mix of sun and cloud, 26 degrees, 26 again on Sunday. A little bit more stable under a mix of sun and cloud.
The Winnipeg Jets have selected 5 players in the recent NHL entry draft, including Manitoba-born Owen Martin. Born in Oak Bank, Martin was selected in the 3rd round as the 92nd overall pick. The 18-year-old has spent the past 2 seasons as a center with the Spokane Chiefs, an American team that plays in the Western Hockey League.
Right now, we're all still kind of soaking it all in. We're all getting texts from everybody we know. It's been unbelievable. But yeah, tonight, probably have even more people over, have a nice little barbecue.
Martin's only the 3rd Manitoban to be selected by the Jets since their return in 2011. He said he looks forward to showing his newest teammates parts of Manitoba, including Oak Bank, during the Jets development camp this week. The other new selections for the Jets include defenseman Sacha Beaumedien, forward Victor Klingzel, defenseman Edison Engel, and forward Jacob Cloutier.
He's in on a breakaway. Carter Bear score!
And that's another Manitoba rising hockey star, Carter Bear from Peguis First Nation. The Western Hockey League player was drafted by the Detroit Red Wings. The Southern Chiefs organization released a statement congratulating Bear and calling it an incredible achievement. The SEO says Bear will inspire many young athletes across all First Nations.
CTV Skywatch weather brought to you by South Beach Casino and Resort. Visit southbeachcasino.ca.
CTV weather specialist Colleen Brady has your complete Skywatch weather forecast. Colleen, an arena, not a bad place to beat the heat. I feel it's been a pretty hot couple days.
It sure has, and unstable as well. You've felt it's pretty humid out there too. So no surprise we're seeing these thunderstorms firing off. If you're heading out to cottage country, just beware of that. But they're non-severe at this point. And I showed you earlier, it looked like there was a little bit of hail dropping too. There's a little bit there popping up. So again, non-severe, and the expectation is that's how they will remain. And they shouldn't last for too much longer. It's the other direction, further north, where there's the greater potential for severe thunderstorm development. So all these areas lighting up in yellow, including places like Flin Flon and Lynn Lake, wildfire affected areas, and then more central through Thompson, Norway House, and then further east still, all under a severe thunderstorm watch. So that means that thunderstorms could develop that could become severe. So we're looking at things like heavy rain, some very strong wind gusts, and some sizable hail. That's all possible. Thompson's already had thunderstorms throughout the afternoon, off and on. Norway House had one as well. They were non-severe, but that does not mean other ones could come along. They're all riding along a trough and an associated cold front moving across the region tonight. 22 right now in Thompson. Island Lake, the weather station, they're not sending in a temp, but I can tell you Environment Canada is reporting 23 degrees, so warm up there. Hot down here in the south, 27 in Winnipeg, 28 Portage, 26 right now in the Brandon area. So most of northern Manitoba stands a very good chance of seeing showers tonight. But again, a lot of areas could see thunderstorms develop that could become severe over the next few hours. We get overnight, and really the focus of that precipitation is more over into the northeast. Meanwhile, down here in the south, there's a risk of thunderstorms early this evening, and then beyond that, more stable conditions, clear overnight. Then we get into Canada Day. A lot of areas will see a lot of sunshine, not so much up in the northeast, a little bit more rain coming through there. But again, there's that instability in the afternoon that could bring late afternoon Canada Day thunderstorms to southern Manitoba and into early tomorrow night, and then again overnight, taking us into Wednesday. And as I showed you on the long range forecast, lots of sunshine, not just here in Winnipeg, but across much of the province, and quite warm. Tonight, 17 degrees, speaking of quite warm. So with that risk of thunderstorms early this evening, that will be behind us before too long. Winds out of the northwest at 30, gusting to 50. And tomorrow, of course, is Canada Day. Sunny most of the day, 29 degrees with that chance of thunderstorms late day or into the early evening. 16 degrees our overnight low, and the UV index tomorrow is 8 or very high. Quick swing around the province starting up into the northeast tonight. Again, most areas should see some showers over into Thompson. You've already seen thunderstorms there. 20 for your Canada Day. Gillam, your temperature falls tomorrow down to 13 degrees under a mix of sun and cloud. Good chance of showers or thunderstorms across the northwest. More to come for Lynn Lake tomorrow. Sunny in Flin Flon, 24 degrees. In the southwest tonight, clearing conditions for most areas. Brandon, Dauphin, and all surrounding regions down to 13. Low chance of afternoon showers tomorrow. Hot highs of 28 degrees. Otherwise under a mix of sun and cloud. Clearing tonight in the southeast. Overnight lows between 15 and 17. Sunny and windy for most of the day before that chance of thunderstorms in the afternoon. Northwestern Ontario, I'm sounding like a broken record. You could see showers and thunderstorms tonight. Best bet is in Dryden for more of the same tomorrow. But you can see pretty nice and warm otherwise there. Speaking of nice and warm, this photo was taken just west of Winnipeg. A beautiful shot there. That one is from Roy. And, of course, it is Canada Day. So Dolores here in Winnipeg wanted to wish everyone a happy Canada Day. Send us your weather photos to winnipegweather@ctv.ca.
Thanks, Colleen. Cities across Europe are on alert as a dangerous heat wave scorches much of the continent. Excuse me. So in Seville, Spain, temperatures reached 45 degrees Celsius as residents and tourists tried to stay cool. The country is on course for its hottest June on record. Italy, Portugal, Germany, and France are also feeling the heat. The sweltering temperatures are expected to peak today and tomorrow. Some Tim Hortons customers who thought they had won a boat playing Roll Up the Rim can go ahead and sue.
Quebec law, you can ask for what's called specific performance. So you told me I want a boat. I want delivery of the boat. That's what our clients in the class is alleging for now. Obviously, if they want to offer an equivalent amount in money and save on the delivery fees of the boat, I'm sure my client would entertain that.
A Quebec Superior Court judge has authorized a class action lawsuit against Tim Hortons after customers received emails claiming they'd won a boat and trailer playing Roll Up the Rim last year. Turns out those emails to 500,000 customers were a mistake. The judge says the class action can go forward, but has limited it to Quebec residents. The law firm says clients should be awarded the boat and trailer, and they were told they had won. The lawyer representing the claimants is also asking for punitive damages of $10,000 per customer. The prize's value is reportedly about $64,000.
We know that it affects people's reaction time. It gives them tunnel vision.
Still ahead, a warning ahead of your Canada Day celebrations. Plus, Calgary reintroduces fluoride into its drinking water. Medical Watch is next. This month marks the 40th anniversary of Live Aid, the televised two-venue concert featuring iconic performances from Queen, U2, and so many more. It drew an estimated 1.5 billion viewers and raised more than $140 million for famine relief in Ethiopia. But some may not know it was the quiet heroism of a Manitoba pilot named William Rue that helped ignite one of history's largest humanitarian responses. And he joins me now to share more about this incredible story. Hello, Will. Thanks so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
This is really neat. I want to invite you to go back to 1984, if you will. At the time, you were a 30-year-old pilot flying with Mission Aviation Fellowship. Tell me what exactly your work entailed at the time.
Well, Mission Aviation Fellowship worked in conjunction with World Vision. It was World Vision's airplane, and it was used to serve various World Vision projects around Ethiopia. But not having any aviation expertise, they brought in Mission Aviation Fellowship, who at that point had decades of experience doing that kind of flying, very what would you call it, unstructured kind of flying in a country like Ethiopia.
And that October, you took a very fateful flight. With you and your co-pilot was a BBC News team. So tell me about that day.
Yeah, the way it worked was World Vision had projects all around the country, and we would be tasked with supporting those various projects. And the task might be for one day or it might be for 2 weeks. So we would essentially just do what World Vision asked us to do as Mission Aviation Fellowship pilots and mechanics. So on the 18th of October, I got word that we would be taking a BBC film crew north to film the famine. And what was unusual about that was that it was the media, because up until that point, I'd experienced very little media contact at all as we worked around the country. So here, all of a sudden in October, the BBC turns up. So as a pilot, I went with another Canadian. The co-pilot mechanic was Keith Ketchum. And we also always traveled with an Ethiopian government security agent whose name was Warrant Officer Makonnen, and he traveled with us all the time to make sure we stayed out of any military Civil War type issues that might pop up.
Well, to say that that footage sparked or touched a nerve is an understatement. That's what sparked the formation of Band-Aid. They put out Do They Know It's Christmas? That raised millions for famine relief. And then, of course, Live Aid with the 40th anniversary coming up in just a couple of days. I just want to know, at the time, could you even process that flight, that footage had led to all this?
No, not at all, because like I said, it was basically par for the course. We were assigned a job, and so Keith Ketchum and I did the job, and we took the BBC in the end to Quorum, and then on the third day, the 21st, we flew them back to Addis Ababa, from where they flew back to the UK. So it really wasn't a whole lot different from any other project we had been tasked with. So we got back to Addis Ababa once it was all over, and did what we usually did, which was, clean up, have a nice warm shower and put on some fresh clothes, and then go out for a meal. Never for a minute thinking that this was going to be an absolute game changer. And to be honest, we were already thinking about the next day's project, which was to go in support of another feeding project that Mother Teresa's nuns were operating. So we never really gave it much thought. And it was only a few days later, after the October 23rd showing of the BBC documentary, that things began to change in Addis Ababa. And the first indication of that was that the media presence, which had been non-existent for my previous 11 and a half months in the country, really began to crop up. And print media and TV began to show up in Addis in a way it hadn't before.
We're very quickly out of time here, but I just want to know, all these decades later, are you proud? How are you processing this anniversary? What do you think, what are your kind of lingering thoughts from it now that you've had so much time to see the impact?
Well, it speaks to the power of the media to affect change. So obviously Bob Geldof rightly gets a lot of the praise, but not only was he impacted to go ahead with Live Aid concerts, countries around the world began to dedicate military transports to the Ethiopia famine, and is strictly the result of response to Michael Burke and Mohammed Amin's documentary. It's amazing the power of that one documentary to turn the Ethiopia famine around.
All right, we will leave it there. Well, thank you so much for your time and sharing your incredible story.
Thank you.
Canada Day may be tomorrow, but many have taken an extra long weekend to celebrate. The national president of MAD Canada says you can enjoy the holiday safely.
a strong misnomer that goes around. People say, oh, well, I'm a much better driver when I've been consuming cannabis. And the data proves that to be completely false. We know that it affects people's reaction time. It gives them tunnel vision, so they aren't able to do more than one task at a time very well. So we know that it affects their ability to drive or operate any kind of vehicle. So we ask that if people have been consuming any drugs or alcohol, whether that be cannabis or whatever, that they simply remove that from the act of operating a vehicle.
And Tanya Hansen-Pratt is also reminding people that any form of distracted driving, including using a phone, is dangerous and can lead to a collision. After more than a decade, Calgary is reintroducing fluoride into its drinking water. The city began adding 0.7 milligrams per liter today, the optimal level recommended by Health Canada to prevent tooth decay. It was first added in Calgary's water in 1991, but was eventually discontinued by City Council in 2011. The decision to bring it back followed a 2021 plebiscite in which 62% of voters voiced support.
More value for people who don't get fluoride in their toothpaste. So young children, where it's difficult for parents to always make sure they brush their teeth with fluoride. Those who can't afford or don't understand the value of fluoride toothpaste. And also those who are ill or elderly who have difficulty brushing their teeth.
A study from the University of Calgary in 2021 found poor dental health among Calgary children compared to those in Edmonton, where the water is fluoridated. The study of 2,600 second-grade kids found 64.8% of those from Calgary had at least one cavity, compared to 55.1% from Edmonton.
Medical Watch is brought to you by Manukin Koster Denture Clinic. Spotlight, sponsored by the Casinos of Winnipeg, presenting Menopause, the musical.
No matter where you are in Winnipeg, there are plenty of events planned tomorrow to help you celebrate Canada Day. The largest will be over at the Forks, one of the largest anyway, where you can expect a full day of family-friendly activities.
So tomorrow we do have the 3x3 basketball tournament that's taking place all day. There's also a dunk contest and a basketball shooting contest with that. The Winnipeg Sea Bears will be here in the afternoon. There's food trucks out here, a handmade market. There's Folklorama's going to be here, Fort White. There's just activities all day.
And that's just some of what you can expect over at the Forks, which is wrapping up 11 days of cultural programming dubbed Many Nations, One Heartbeat. Assiniboine Park will also be offering a full day of music and entertainment and even a citizenship ceremony. Plenty of activities and music are happening over at Princess Auto Stadium, featuring headliner Big Wreck, followed by fireworks. Assiniboia Downs is hosting some family-friendly activities beginning at 6:30. Live horse racing gets underway at 7:30 with fireworks to follow. The Canadian Museum for Human Rights is open from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. with free admission, and several community groups such as Transcona and Sage Creek are hosting their own Canada Day celebrations as well. A 3-day event bringing festivities to the Tyndall Park neighborhood kicked off on Sunday. Known as Canada Fest, the annual event at the Tyndall Community Market includes food trucks, local vendors, performances, even Zumba, and it's free to attend.
I think we're offering something a little bit different, which is, Tyndall Community Market featuring the food park. There's lots of food options here. You're not going to find this anywhere else in Winnipeg.
There you have it. The event runs tonight until 9 p.m. at the Tyndall Park Community Centre, both inside and outside, and concludes on Canada Day. Fireworks are anticipated for the final day at 10:35 p.m., weather permitting. But the weather does look pretty good. Beat the Monday Blues with American Ninja Warrior at 7, followed by Yes Chef at 9, then Unwind with E-Talk at 10:30. It's all right here on CTV.
Women's clothing provided by RW & Company. Salon services provided by S&T Spa Salon.
And on this last day of June, 27 degrees the high temperature, but we have to go back all the way to 1889, Catherine, for the record for this day, 35 degrees on the nose. Tonight down to 17 with the risk of thunderstorms. Sunny much of the day on Canada Day, 29 degrees, 28 in the sun Wednesday, 32 on Thursday, 30 on Friday. We could see thunderstorms, and then not quite as warm, but a warm weekend awaits.
So you haven't yet made it downtown to try crossing Portage in Maine for the first time? No worries. A local tech company has you covered.
You can see, like, as I'm walking, like, I'm in this flower bed, and it knows the height difference, which is cool.
This is a virtual rendering of Winnipeg's iconic intersection by local virtual production company Copilot Co. And it offers users the chance to assume the role of a robot-looking avatar and explore the intersection. But the technology at work here is more than just a creative exercise.
Walked around. Yep. What we're wanting to see and do is bring more producers, directors, and production companies here to Manitoba. So an easy way to do that is to get them to actually be able to do virtual scouts here in the city. So they can pick the places that are very popular. Our street gets shut down all the time for Hallmarks, for Universal prop movies. Like, it's a very popular place. So.
And Copilot co-founder Austin Mackay says they're currently virtually creating the entire Exchange District to show off to film producers. You can head to copilot.io to learn more. Pretty neat stuff.
It really is
Makes a lot
cool.
of sense.
Yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks for being with us, and have a happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.